Good afternoon. It is another Saturday in the Press Lounge, and we are live with evangelist and author Angie BEE. Welcome, Angie.
Hey, thanks for having me. Good morning,
I'm
good afternoon.
glad everyone's here. It's a beautiful Saturday here in Florida, and no rain clouds, at least from what I could see out earlier today. So, really thankful about that. Not that it matters since we're inside, but in Florida, we're always thinking about
Oh,
sunshine because we are the sunshine state after all.
oh,
Well, we are so excited to have um, Angie BEE in the studio today. My name is LD Robinson, and I am the owner of Ladero Press. We are a publishing services firm, and we operate in the traditional manner of publishing firms. And that means that we don't charge you to publish your books.
praise
Um,
the Lord.
we um, we um, we pay royalties based on sales. So
Mhm.
it's always a wonderful thing, and we're so excited to have one of our very first authors to sign with Ladero Press with us today,
Mhm.
and we are thankful. We really are.
Thank you.
Um, Hold on a minute. I've got a little technical issue here, and I want to make sure we are good to go.
No problem.
Okay. And seems like we're live on our website, so we always want to make sure we are. I've got all the technical things going on, and everything's showing everywhere it's supposed to be. So until
I
that
am so
extra
impressed.
staff, until that extra staff comes that just says,
Right,
Miss Robinson, you're not on camera one.
right. We waiting on that staff.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'd like to invite you, and you tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm excited. I'm just excited to serve the Lord with gladness. And that's pretty much it. Whatever he tell me to do, I'm gonna do it. I may be messed up while I'm doing it, but he gonna fix it up so that it can be done to his glory.
Yes.
And I've been saying that since 2010 when I wrote my first book that you are about to republish. So I'm excited about that. But honestly, I served the Lord with gladness for over 10 years as an internet radio show host. And then in 2011, we took the show on the road. We took all the Christian rappers that were on the show and many more and authors. And we began evangelizing in different areas. And that's why some people still call me the Queen Bee, because we took the beehive on the road and started buzzing. And just around that time was when, the darkness started to settle in and the multiple diagnoses, one of them being major depression. And through all of that, the first, not only was the first book born, but my focus was there. In the word, they tell you your gifts and talents will make a way for you, but you don't recognize how they begin to make a way for you.
Mm-hmm.
So now, with the voice skills that were honed and fine-tuned during the radio career, now Angie BEE Productions produces audiobooks, and we work with authors and publishing companies to be able to do that. So that was a gift and talent. And then the Lord will always reward you one way or another. And my husband found me, and then together we found Ladero Press. So there's so much
Yes.
to share, but I think we only got a certain amount of time. So you better better cut me off. Like give a preacher and a radio show host a microphone. You got to cut me off.
So, as you know, we have some questions that we're going to ask, and so this is one question that I ask every author, and that is, did you plan to be an author?
Lord have mercy, Jesus. No. In fact, there were, motivational workshops and inspirational workshops and everything I went to. Everybody was like, get your journal, write your journal, write some stuff down. And I was like, this sounds too much like school. I don't want to be writing nothing. And then the Lord literally kicked me out of bed. I think it was maybe 4 or 5 a.m. and said, go to your computer. And I know that my typing speed is pretty good, 70, 80 words a minute. But I think I hit 100 words a minute, just pouring things out into what is now my first book. So you can do your journal if you want to. It makes it a little bit easier and you can get some sleep. If not, the Lord will kick you out of bed. And I believe it was a Saturday. And I remember my daughter Jasmine was sleeping in that day because she didn't have to go to school. And she woke up and came in the office. Mom, what are you doing? I think I'm writing a book. I don't know. She was like, okay, I'm going to cook breakfast. And by the end of the day, the book was done. Sometimes you just have to get it out. Mm-hmm. And I praise God. I don't think I've ever had what some folks call writer's block. I don't think I've ever had regret about the words that were written. No, I may not be good with putting a comma and a semicolon and a period and run-on sentence. That's what editors do. Yes. But I know that I did not intend to become an author. Mm-hmm. But God put me in position to be there. And now I truly enjoy it. I truly enjoy it.
That's good. We're excited. Our next question is, you came to Ladero Press with your husband for the publishing of In the Beginning, There Was God, Me and You.
Yeah.
After self-publishing your first 2 books, why was traditional publishing attractive to you?
Growing up in high school, middle school, high school, I was an overachiever. Always had to be the president of something. Always had to be the lead volunteer. Always, and that, took me all through life. Always had to learn to multitask. Always had to, firstborn syndrome. Always had to. Didn't know what the term "stay in your lane" meant. What that mean? What that mean? And so. Self-publishing, self-publishing to me, you got to be a master of everything. But you may not excel at what you need to. Working with a publishing company, I can stay in my lane. All I have to do is write. Well, yeah, I need to, approve some editing, and I need to at least know what the book cover going to look like. I need to at least get in the studio and take an appropriate headshot, but I don't have to focus on doing everything. I've gone both routes. I've even gone the route where I paid a publishing company to publish my book. What I want to. So I describe it as like I describe my children. I have 2 children, and I gave birth to them every way you can, cesarean and vaginally. And the end result is they both came out fine. But if I had to do it again, I need a little more help. Let me get lay there and y'all get her out. And that's what working with a publishing company is. You give me a little help, and I'll just get it out. So I'm just trying to be real.
We're gonna write a book, birthing your book.
Which way do you want?
Which way would you like to do?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think it's very interesting because we have signed in the past couple months several authors who have self-published, and we are either republishing previously published books or publishing new books for them. Right. And it is my hope that this experience of being with a traditional publisher will be one that helps them really to see the advantage of being with a publisher. But a publisher has a vested interest, because you can have a publisher who doesn't have a vested interest. And certainly I would say with you and your husband being the very first 2 that signed with Ladero Press, that you have really, as former President Bush said, you've stayed the course.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I certainly appreciate that. But I really do hope that authors who have self-published before see the care that we take here at Ladero Press with their books and with their work, because it is your creative work, and giving that to someone else is not a very easy thing. I mean, you don't hand over your baby. I mean, well,
Well, but
good
yeah,
mothers don't just hand over their babies to anyone or let
right.
anyone pick them up and handle
Right.
them.
Right. But eventually your baby has to go to school.
Yes,
And even if they're homeschooled, I mean, they still have to grow from other experiences. So
absolutely.
that's the way I like to think of my book, In the Hands of Ladero Press. It was my baby. I got a chance to do it. Now I'm sending it to elementary school and middle school and high school, and it needs to grow so that others can see it that I may not even thought of to be able to reach it. So, but I get it. I get it. And I know my husband loves to get those royalty checks. He took a couple of them and framed them. And I was like, honey, I think we have to cash those, So,
well, I'm looking forward when he really wants to frame them. He can copy them, but cash them.
Well, we got a chance to learn how to take a picture of it and deposit it in the bank. He was like, hey, does that work? So yes, publishing with Ladero Press has taught us in so many ways. So
yeah. Well, Ladero Press will be republishing, as you said, your very first work last week, I Wanted to Die. And it's an intimate look into your own mental health. Most people wouldn't want others to know about anything concerning mental health. It's something we don't talk about, and particularly I think in African American culture, we don't talk about mental health the way we should. Although in our culture, like any other culture, the evidence of mental health is there.
Right.
And we see signs of depression. We see signs of sporadic behavior. We see signs, and yet we still don't talk about it. Right. What inspired you to share this very personal story?
The book is entitled Last Week I Wanted to Die because the very first time I was hospitalized in a mental health institution, the process is, they clean you up, strip you down, and put you in like scrubs. So, you're not in your regular clothing. And then they schedule you for medication, schedule you for one-on-one counseling sessions, and schedule you for group counseling sessions. So my very first group counseling session, the next morning, the facilitator looked at me and said, "Why are you here?" And, everybody had their own answers. But my answer was, well, last week I wanted to die. And it's difficult to, we're looking at not 10, 11 years ago. So it's difficult for me to really grasp how ill I was because I'm so healthy now. Even my husband says, when I speak on mental health and talk about the topic, he's like, I don't know who that woman is that you're talking about because, but I needed to talk about it then because I had the faith that I was going to get from where I was to where I am now.
Yes.
And I knew that God got me up to write it. So it must have been for a reason. Now in my fog, in my mental health crisis, I thought I was writing it to leave something for my daughters because I was not going to live. I wasn't. I had plans that I had put in place a couple times. And in fact, my husband has a friend that first time I met him, and I was talking to him about the book. He said, you tried to commit suicide 3 times. What happened? The first 2 times didn't work. Praise God. Praise God. The first 2 times. Praise God. The first 2 times didn't work, Chester. But anyhow, sharing that in sharing those thoughts and feelings in writing was supposed to be like a love letter for my children. I knew they would, in my mind then, I knew they would be better after I was dead. I knew they would, but I knew other people may ask them why and what. And so I wanted them to be able to say, okay, well, here's my mom's book, read it. She can tell you in her own words. I wanted to write about how my then pastor failed me, because, you know, you can't go to your pastor for everything. They pastors, they're not counselors. I wanted to write about how living through a domestically violent marriage at the time can contribute to issues. Yes, I had uncontrolled type 2 diabetes, uncontrolled high blood pressure, obstructive sleep apnea. All those health challenges contribute to my mental degradation. And, you know, some people see me and they're like, but you're so gorgeous. You're so, you know, with your bald head, and you're an alopecia advocate. And even my daughter Angelina today said, Mom, I don't think I've ever seen you with blue lipstick on. I'm like, hey, this still Alopecia Awareness Month. I'm still blinging my blue as best I can. But hair loss in a Black woman, I can only speak because I'm a Black, hair loss can cause mental health problems. And we talk about that too. So why did I feel like I needed to share that story? I didn't know it then. I know it now. And sometimes you just have to be obedient, even if you don't know why you're doing it. Even if you don't know, just do it. Just do it. You may not know grandmama coming over Sunday, but you better clean your house Saturday. You know?
Even if you don't feel like it.
Yeah. So that's why I needed to share that story. And I pray that if anyone that's watching or listening, like I talked to a woman this morning and she said she was having health problems and a little depression. It could be a little, it could be a lot. You could have reasons for having depression. My mama died. I got COVID. I lost my job. It could, all these reasons, but it don't matter. You could still have a broken leg. It still need to be fixed. It don't matter if you got a little bit of depression. It still need to be fixed.
It still needs to be fixed. Yes.
Yeah. It still need to be.
Writing is a very emotional process. And it matters not whether you're writing fiction or nonfiction. Real writing comes from a place that is truly from within us.
Correct.
We've all read books that we just didn't connect with, and that is because in part because the author didn't connect with the content.
Correct.
And sometimes that shows, that comes through. And as a fiction writer, I have to become the characters. You know, I have to feel what they feel. I have to take the journey that they take. Even as a nonfiction writer, I still have to be authentic in what I'm writing, and that becomes emotional. How were your emotions as you put last week on paper?
My emotions were all over the place because I was trying to go through a divorce. I was trying to help my daughter excel in school. I was trying to get my health under control. I was really trying to survive. You know, I like to, when I speak on mental illness, I like to say, I don't want to be that Christian that stands on the beach and criticizes the person out in the water drowning. You shouldn't have went out there. You know you can't swim. I want to be the Christian that jumps in, gets them, dries them off, cleans them up, feeds them, checks on them, and then teaches them how to swim. And so I was drowning when I wrote this book. My emotions were all over the place. I needed somebody to come get me. And that can be a dark place to be in when you're writing, but it can also be an open place because God comes in and fills you up and literally gives you the words to say. And so I kind of embrace emotion when I write, because I think it comes out. I've had people read my books and say, "Oh, you write like you talk," and I'm like, "Doesn't everybody?"
No.
Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? And they just keep on reading. I'm like, I don't know what that means, but so,
no, everyone does not write the way they talk. And I think if you ever see the disconnect between the two, if people realize that their writing reflects them, right?
oh,
And
okay,
they would really, that doesn't mean you should speak bad grammar. If you speak bad grammar, that doesn't mean you should speak bad grammar in the book. But
come out,
that's
yeah,
that's where your publisher comes in, our
yeah.
editing staff comes in.
My
But I
God.
think there is that place of authenticity with your emotions while you're writing that helps people really to connect with
Absolutely.
the story. And I think I put this question here because I think it's so important for readers of last week to understand that you exposed yourself in
Mhm.
this book
And my family.
and your family. And
Mhm.
so that's not an easy thing to do
No.
in the course of your own healing,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
also in helping others to say, hey, I'm dealing with some of these same signs, and
Mhm.
maybe I need to go talk to my doctor,
Correct.
or I see some of these same signs, and maybe I need to go talk to my counselor
Correct. Mhm.
to keep us
Mhm.
from getting to the point where we
Mhm.
feel like we want to die,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. Right.
So the goal really is each time that I read last week, um, I am moved by um, the rawness that is really on the paper in
Mhm.
terms of feelings and emotions that comes through from the writing. And then there's the help in the book that, what, I'm not telling you this part, but I'm telling you there is help.
Correct.
There is spiritual help, and there is natural help for
Natural
you to
help.
get.
Yes.
And you need both
Yes.
in order to get to the place where you really need to be to function well and
Correct.
whole in life.
Correct.
After after depression, after anxiety, um, after struggling to get out of bed or struggling to do tasks that you need to do. Those are, I think last week is a book for um, everyone to have in their families.
Because
Because
everybody's family has at least one.
everybody has it. Yes.
One that really really needs help. And not only should you have it in your family, you should have it uh in any organization that you're a part of that's got 3 or more people in it. Your sorority, your church library, and the reason I say that is because with mental illness, you truly need a support system. And I
Yes, you
always
do.
describe it like a pyramid. You're at the top, and then you need a strong, strong sides and a stronger base foundation. And the book can be one of those. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. Um, I have been diagnosed with major depression, generalized anxiety disorder, and PTSD. So sometimes the generalized anxiety disorder will kick in just because it just feel like it. On for my body, stress, whether it be good or bad, the anxiety don't care. It just so like yesterday, I had a great day. Signed a contract to do an audio book for a publishing company. Somebody else talked to me about publishing. I'm sewing and didn't mess up the sleeve. Did something in the garden.
Yeah.
had dinner in the oven and it was smelling good and smoke detectors wasn't going off, but then the weepiness started and the tingly feeling like I was, gonna get sick to my stomach. And yes, it could be hot flashes, but sometimes you don't know the difference. It could
Yes.
be an anxiety attack coming. I'm 55. It could be a hot flash coming. It could be so many things. I just had a hysterectomy in June, so it could still be my body healing. But whatever it was, I needed help from one side or the other.
Yes.
Well, Marty was out at the thrift store and he left his phone at home. So I couldn't call him to come help me. Yes, I could sit here and reach out to God, but sometimes you need somebody physical to just, So I called Angeline. She was my other side. And sometimes you just need somebody to talk you through it. You just need to sit and look at a plant. You just need to be still and know that he is God so that he can come in on the other side. Mm-hmm. This book can be that for you. If you really feel like you don't have a bottom or a left side or a right side, but you up here and you still crumbling, this book can help you because it can show you that one, you're not alone.
Yeah.
Somebody else has been there and somebody else is praying for you.
Yes. And you can come through.
Ooh,
you can come through, not just survive a mental health crisis, but you can thrive after that. Mm-hmm. When I read last week and I see all the things that you are doing, and there are a lot of them, trust me. I mean, you are a busy bee. Yeah. I mean, that bee in there is for a reason. You are definitely a busy bee. Yeah. I think that it is hope for someone. It's hope on paper for someone who is struggling to see, how can I get past this and get to that thing that dream that they have, that business they want to start, that marriage that they want to enjoy, those children that they want to have and not damage them due to mental health issues. I think this book is hope on paper.
Praise God.
It is hope for people who need it.
Praise God.
And I think there will be families that will be well served because that person in their family gets the help. They understand, okay, I'm not the only person who's been here, but she was here, but she's not still in the same place. So there's hope that I can move on this journey to another place.
Absolutely.
And being in a better place. And I'm really thankful that you have trusted us with republishing such an intimate story, because you didn't have to. I mean, you could have said, hey, it's I'll give you new stuff but I believe that there is a great need, I think, for people to really identify mental health issues and also address them. Because you can't, it's like your body. If you break your toe, you need to go see about getting your toe fixed. Correct. And you can't ignore it and just keep walking on it. And then, 5 years later, you're like, oh yeah, I did stub my toe. I thought I broke it. It felt like it was broke, but I just decided I don't like doctors, so I didn't go to the doctor, Right, but now you've got like other issues with your foot because you didn't go get your broken toe fixed, Right. And I think this will be a very big help to a lot of individuals and to a lot of families.
And LD, really when you talk about families, I want to, again, be transparent, because that's the only way I know how to be. But this book can possibly help you when you are trying to minister to someone else in your family. Say, recently I learned what the term gaslighting meant. I didn't. Recently, I learned a whole lot of things. I didn't know what WAP meant until, so I'm still learning. But you have to be receptive to hearing from someone else in your family when you could be exhibiting symptoms.
Absolutely.
Like everybody can look at me and say, "Oh, she having a hot flash because it be raining," But
Yeah.
if I'm taking a nap, somebody else could say, "Oh, she being lazy." No,
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking care of my mental health.
Mm-hmm.
If the Lord has me up at 5, 6 in the morning and my husband want me to stay up with him till 11, it need to be a nap in there some kind of way. So people have to recognize symptoms in themselves and someone else and not be hostile or resistant when somebody try to tell you them chin hairs is from it's, it's from menopause and that bald spot is from alopecia, and you snapping at folks mean you might need a little bit of a prescription medication and check in with a counselor every now and then. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Some symptoms are obvious and some are not, and that's why I think this book can help other people when everybody always talk about they got a crazy uncle in the family, but then when the uncle is out in the street naked and the police is putting a bag over their head,
Yes.
what we gonna do then?
Yes.
Fuss at the police? So maybe reading the book can give you some ideas. Maybe reading the book can inspire you to go to some local facilities and find out what you can do to help. We just can no longer ignore the symptoms that God has put in front of us, thinking that they're gonna go away, or that the toe gonna heal by itself, or oh well, that's just them. We're not trying to make everybody conform to society. We're just trying to be sure that in all things, people are treated with a spirit of excellence, love, and care.
Yes.
Period.
Yes. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it's a wonderful addition to our inspired imprint. Your very first book came out. I was Ladero, and it was Ladero inspiration, and so we took that and changed that imprint to inspired, because it covers so many areas to help encourage people in living and being their best selves, being our best selves. And
Yes.
that comes from many different ways. That's spirit, soul, and body. I mean,
Right.
that's our minds and our wills, our emotions,
Right.
we all know, possibly intelligent people whose emotions, need some help, I admit at times that I've been there, especially when I've got lots of projects and things going on. My sister tells me, you always talk short when you're like really busy, and so I had to realize, yeah, she's right. And I need to work, that was something, I try to work on to not get short because I'm pressed for time. Slow down, just slow down a bit, and
Right.
speak kindly, and maybe
Right.
not so shortly, and
Yeah.
some people stress, or what some people consider to be stress is not stressful for other people. And
Correct.
so making sure that you understand what is stressful for you and what's not stressful for you.
Correct.
Deadlines and things sort of, coming together, those are sort of things that, I sort of thrive on, right? But everyone else doesn't do so well with that. And they don't they don't always understand why you like that, So I think it's, recognizing those signs really helps us to really be inspired to be our best. And
Good.
I am really proud to add Last Week I Wanted to Die to our inspired imprint.
Thank
And it will be available
you.
this October the 3rd for pre-order, and on sale October 23rd. And we are really excited about really excited about it.
Yay.
It is a wonderful book, and we hope that you all tune in and get a copy of Last Week I Wanted to Die, and put it in your library and give it to someone.
Give it to a couple someone's, your sorority, your fraternity.
They need it. Give it to an organization, as Angie said.
Right.
Donate it to your local library so that it's available for people who need it.
Correct.
Well, as always, I ask a surprise question, and so I already know that you and Barty are working on another book. So I have to ask, is there another book coming that you'll be giving birth to?
Wow. I have to admit the next book is I got pregnant with it during the pandemic. And that is an audiobook series that is entitled Confinement Chronicles. And what I thought was just going to be a 1-hour audiobook with 3 or 4 other people writing about how the pandemic has affected them has now turned into what I think is going to be a 10-volume series, 10 plus hours. And I don't know, how many pages did I send you with all? And there are topics about protests during the pandemic. Pastors and attorneys talked about that. We had, I needed to hear how my babies were doing. I needed to interview my 8-year-old niece and my 15-year-old nephew. How y'all doing in this pandemic? I know the parents are worried, but how you? And so we got a chance to hear from them. We got a chance to hear from people and their mental health. How is your mental health doing in this pandemic? You know, I can take a couple days without taking a shower and going outside, but how you doing with it? You know, we dealt with that. A lot of questions that came up in my mind, and then it would be confirmed on the news. I'd be walking around the house and then they talk about, oh, you know, this is what's going on. And I'm like, hey, God, I hear you. So this, you know, is a collection of stories from other people, my thoughts and my feelings that are coming out right now. We're accepting submissions for people that have dealt with cancer. We just got finished talking about alopecia. Lord, I mean, so many different. And so that got me excited because, again, I'm like, look at all these other people that have issues like mine. You know, I have folks in my family with cancer. I got folks in my family with mental illness, folks that I know that's and so when you're able to find other people that kind of think like you or dealing with things like you, it's easier to write a book. And I'm excited about that. I was honored to be able to narrate their words, and even more excited to be able to take their words and compile them into the next project. But then going back to you know, our next book, Barty and I were able to get a real routine going with writing our second book. Again, the Lord would get me up 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm in there, I'm typing up something, and then Barty would come in and say, no, it didn't happen like that. No, you got to add this, you got to, and he would add his part to it. And so that second book is coming out, and I believe the next book that God has me working on is going to be something.
I thought it was going to be how to marry 2 daughters in 1 year.
I was just about to say, how to survive 2 weddings in a year.
How to survive 2 weddings.
Praise
2
the
girls
Lord.
and 2 weddings.
I got to give a shout out to Jasmine.
I'm sorry, you're being serious, but I really, you know.
Ooh, that needs to be, and actually that could come under the inspirational part that I'm writing. I want to write something more about what I've learned from, you know, my grandparents and my parents, and I know that the book Ma talks about motherhood, but I really do want to add how I've been fascinated. I've got 2 daughters, and they both married fine, upstanding gentlemen, and between the 4 of them, they ain't got no babies. They may have too many pets. But I mean, just fine, upstanding citizens, and they was raised by a crazy mama. Their mama was in and out of the mental health, the emergency room, the this. How they end up so wonderful? Only by the grace of God. So yeah, Jasmine and married Eric February 29th. Then the pandemic hit. And Eric worked for the airline industry. So how do you survive that? Angela wanted to get married last year, October, decided to wait a year so her baby sister could go first. But now she's getting married October 31st in the midst of this pandemic. How is she still encouraged and inspired? And so, yes, I think the next book that God wants me to get out is going to be inspirational stories from my family, how God saw us through some of this foolishness. If you can't have faith in God after you see what some families go through, is truly something wrong with you.
Yes.
Where you going? And I am so grateful that I am so grateful for Ladero Press. I remember when you came to a workshop and you left saying, if so-and-so could do it, I could do it. And now look at it. What is it? 2-3 years? It's been 3 years later. It's just like, oh my God, look at all these authors. Look at God. And so I encourage everybody, I encourage every newlywed, write your love story. Because when you get on each other's nerves, you need to go back and read over why you fell in love. Okay? Because it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I encourage every mother to write stories. My mother-in-law, God bless her, Queen Esther Chastain, she used to, when Angela was first born, she said, what you want to do is take the baby's picture and turn it over and put their name and their date on the back because you're going to get them confused. And I'm like, how am I going to get my child confused? Shoot, now I see pictures. I don't know which child it is. It could be one of my sisters. I don't know. I encourage every mother to write something about their children.
Yeah.
Okay. I encourage every man to write something about his life before he got with their mama.
Mm-hmm.
Because in your obituary, all they gonna know is when you joined the church, you was on the usher board and you lived for the Lord and you died. They need to hear that you was hustling a little bit back before you got married. They need to hear that you went in and out of the mental health hospital before things got. They need to hear that you love Christian rap music and you did they need to hear these things. And they're not going, everybody ain't on YouTube like I am. So You need to write it. They may not read it now, but I promise you, everything my mother has written, I go, even if it was just a birthday card, just to see her signature. So write it now and let Ladero Press publish it.
I think that is such a wonderful thing. My mom's mom was a writer. She always wrote. She'd take a word from something she heard. It could have been a TV show and she heard a word, and she'd take her notebook and write. And it's taken me some time. In fact, another project that I've been working on, Patricia Watley's book, her memoir, has actually helped me really to be prepared to publish my grandmother's writings, because every time I would start, the emotions.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Would kick in.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a very wonderful thing to encourage mothers and fathers to write and leave something of your thoughts to your children. It is wonderful to talk with them. But I think every time that I open my grandmother's different notebooks and her journals, there is a piece of her that is still here with us.
Yes.
So there's a very
it's a beautiful thing. And if we associate it with, everybody's excited about Facebook memories, because Facebook will tell you, look what you was doing 6-7 years ago, and pictures and posts and things. So if you can imagine taking that and magnifying it to a book that can stay with the family Bible, it may not be something like my dad has worked on something. I don't know that it would ideally be something that somebody in Italy or Germany would want to read, but the family would love to read it. Though the family that's coming up after would love to read it. And
Absolutely.
I think that's the power of the written word. If the Bible has been translated in all these languages and has endured, people that don't even love the Lord recognize the Bible.
Yes.
So let your family recognize, oh yeah, that's where grandmama's recipe came from. Oh yeah, I remember. I never knew this woman, but she was in my family. Wow. I'm excited for you to have that. I'm excited. I'm excited.
Well, we are super excited, and we want to remind you that Angie BEE is a published author. She has 2 books with Ladero Press, and you can purchase In the Beginning, There Was God, Me, and You by her and her husband, Barty, and get your copy of Ma, Why Hearing God's Voice is Essential to Motherhood. And you can purchase those at www.laderopress.com or any major retailer.
Woo-hoo.
They are all there.
Major.
Well, we are so excited. I am truly excited, and thank you so very much for joining us today in the Press Lounge.
Thank you.
We are so excited. We'll be back in a couple of weeks in the Press Lounge with another Ladero Press author. I believe we have Miss Diane Bass.
Wow. I can't wait to learn about her.
Coming up in a couple of weeks. And I'm going to do a little something here.
Oh, wonderful.
And yes, October the 10th, come back, 12 noon on a Saturday, October 10th. We have author, poet Diane Bass, who will be our inaugural author for our Verses and Prose imprint. And we are so excited and that she will be joining us. And we have been thrilled today to have you with us, Angie.
Thank you so much.
It has been, as always, you are funny, you are real. I'm still how to birth your book is we're gonna write that book together.
We'll work on that one. Yeah.
How to birth your book.
Yep. Which way you want to do it.
You heard it right here in the Press Lounge. Thank you so much for joining us and taking time out of your schedule to talk with us and let our readers get to know a little bit about you. And we're thankful, and we look forward to your book coming out. Again, we want to remind everyone that October the 13th, last week, I Want It to Die goes on pre-order and goes on sale October 23rd. Thank you very much and have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you for letting us share mental health awareness. I appreciate you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
God bless.
Bye-bye.